why is it so hard for us to actually follow that norm? Don't share your bank details. But unless you have an issue, situation like Rakesh, when he was just sitting in the comfort of his house, probably watching TV, how much money you lost? 35,000, boom, you get a message. What do you do then, right? Who protects you from that? Please introduce yourself.
I'm Narayanan. Basically, this is a scratch and win card contest kind of a thing. We have been like bombarded with such letters through many years now almost, but none of them caught our attention at all. But this one conned us. So it turned out that from the very start, the letter that we received, everything about that seemed very, very genuine initially. The address to the ward number, every detail was perfect, and they had mentioned a bunch of things in the letter, and then they had given a scratch card. We usually, even if we read such letters, we used to throw it away. But this is like in October they have sent it. We got it around the last week, just before Diwali, and after Diwali, we just scratched it. That's it.
I like the way you're pausing and saying, grieving for the incident.
I mean, when bad time strikes, it strikes so hard.
I know. I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but it's just...
That's fine. That's absolutely fine. I mean, see, in a way, I'm actually wanting to relate more than what transpired with me. What I have observed and what all I have kind of investigated from my own side as well. So this letter that they gave was having the proper letterhead of Naptol company, and the thing that did us in a way was one of the these are one of the things that caught our attention at the wrong time. So it just stuck to us. One, we initially thought this is properly from Naptol, but they also followed up with further letterhead communication itself, where the whole layout and the signatures of people at the bottom and everything.
I know this because my mother got this as well at home, because she's shopped a couple of times from Naptol, and there was a proper letterhead that comes to you formally, to your house address. I don't know how to that extent they know your details.
So, now the next step where it was a miss from our end was initially it was either a car that we won or a cash prize, and we chose the cash prize for its lesser stake basically. So the upfront money that would be lost was much lesser compared to the car option, and so we just tried our luck. Here, this was the mistake, which is partly conscious as well. Let's see what happens, is what we entered into. Now, after this, it was a funny ride for us. They were thinking they were trying to lure us in, but I was capturing all the call records, all the chats that I was getting. All of this I was trying to track.
So you wanted to trap them if it was a con?
I am into it now, and I'm pursuing this case to the end to find the real rascal who spoke to me.
Excellent.
I'm not letting him go off without coming in front of camera on a TV show like this.
Hey, we're totally going to pursue this with you.
Sure,
please,
definitely.
We'll be there once you catch hold of him and give us
these guys are operating out of a place somewhere in Kolkata, and all their numbers that were this one are registered to Vodafone Kolkata. These are the details. I could even give them the phone numbers as well.
This is a whole blown like a corporate setup that
they have round-the-clock people working, and I have called them on off hours to check what's happening, and I've seen people responding as if there's a security guy who picks up sometimes, and these phones go off regularly after weekdays, and they come back active on the next week. So Friday evening after 7 p.m. it turns off usually, and Monday morning at 10 a.m. it starts off. These are the ways by which these people are operating.
Next level.
And the bank account to which I transferred is actually a polar opposite location, which is in Gujarat, and I think I have access to the person's registered address at least of the person who has received my money.
How much money? Have you
That's
lost?
60K.
60,000. No, but so you were aware. You thought, let's see where this goes. Which point did you lose money?
I gave it off myself at a point when I was asked to. The cashback offer was in such a way that 1% is what I pay upfront, and the remaining 3% was supposed to be paid by the company, which after they give the prize money, they'll collect from me, which was made on my behalf. So the prize money's 4% was the actual amount, which is 60,000. So it was like 15 lakh prize money kind of a thing there. So they used a HSBC check leaf on which they have carefully printed stuff, and they have shared the details as well. And if I had gone for a car, possibly, they would have shown me Mahindra XUV 500 model number W7, which was roughly priced around 14 lakhs among the 11 models. So they have done their research and they have put stuff in place for trapping people.
This is almost like a course that these people go through, like a proper educational course to fraud people.
In fact, they actually run organized call centers.
Yeah.
See, these call centers are also located in business parks.
And do these fraudsters get salary?
See, in fact, people don't know that they are doing a fraud actually. The mastermind is the one who knows how the thing works. But other people only know that they are doing a job. They just keep on calling people, they keep on just reading out the content what they have been trained for, and most of them doesn't even know that they are actually into the illegal business. Only the kingpin is the one who knows how the system operates and how to
and where do these fraudsters usually track?
Only to a certain extent, because I have tried to keep the trail aware, active for 15 days. After I have filed a complaint in this one, and I have got an FIR as well.
No. So in fact, there are situations where individuals and small group of people also would operate.
Yes.
And there are also setups where properly organized call centers do work in the reputed business parks as well. But people inside, they don't know.
I wasn't actually refuting your
yeah, I understood.
I was just trying to say that there is one more layer there. In the sense, the total call center guys who will receive your calls later on and the person at executive level who will speak to you are two different people altogether. The call center people are the ones who will be finally at our disposal, where we can reach out to them even after, for months or years, but they will have no clue whatsoever. But these people who were in the managerial post or customer relationship guy kind of designations.
So they make these call center employees to tap into those gullible people, and then with that data, it goes over, elevated to the next level where the actual con men try to extract. But if you call back, it goes back to the call center, not to them.
The transfer to this guy was withdrawn right after in the next day. It did not. It was not withdrawn immediately, but it was withdrawn exactly 1 day later.
So okay, so since you mentioned withdrawn, what if you go back to your bank rushing right at that moment to say that this happened, and of course it'll take at least 2 hours to get an FIR and then go. And that's another terrible, it's very annoying when the banks say, go get an FIR first and come. Because by the time you sensitize a cop, which is a Herculean task, tell them what really happened, and they laugh at you, oh, why did you compromise with your details, and then finally get down to seriously taking your complaint. You've already spent half a day, and then you go back to the bank, there's already 24 hours up. And by then, they would have withdrawn the money. But here he says still it took 1 day for him to withdraw it.
Yes.
What if you had gone back to your bank immediately and asked them to stop
they
transaction?
They will not have helped. They will certainly have not helped.
Would have, or did you try?
No, I haven't tried, and I'm sure it is a dead end, and that's why I did not try. The main reason being, the only point where the bank was involved was a transaction that was initiated by me. So I have no other way to retrieve the money except the receiver sending it back to me. So there is no other course to take.
Roopashi, is there no possibility the bank can stop it right there?
Well, just to put this in context, according to the RBI guidelines, banks are required to have a minimum threshold of security with transactions.
Right.
So if you are aware prior to the money being withdrawn, as in Narayan's case, that there could have been a compromise to your details and you inform them immediately, it is then the bank's responsibility to prevent the transaction. That is, if you have information that this is in fact a fraudulent transaction. If you take a delay of up to 4 to 7 days, you might be liable for some amount of money that is left for your from your account, even though it is actually someone else who has taken the money from that account. So the responsibility is on you to find that information that your account has been compromised and tell the bank. And once you've given this information to the bank, which is through SMS, email, or through a hotline that's operating 24/7,
customer care is what they usually
care.
put you on to. Call customer care and
Correct.
get your bank account blocked.
Yes, once you've given them this information, it's then their job to stop that transaction. That's the minimum that the RBI ensures that banks are required to do.
But why does he feel that he knew it was a dead end?
The main problem is the transaction had gotten completed and the
Yes.
RBI and verification of the reference number had gone through.
And
So it's a
as,
processed transaction which is
Transaction
done.
initiation is different than transaction being completed. In his case, he has
Yes.
transferred the money to the account. That amount which is landed in the the criminal's account, he chose to withdraw it the next day. But the transfer would have happened immediately once he initiated that.
No, can't the bank contact the fraudster's bank and ask them to block his
No,
account?
so sir has a
Right, let's ask our retired DCP. Go on, sir.
Yeah, that is possible. That is possible. That's why they ask, immediately to inform the bank that fraud has taken place.
Yes.
Once it has
Little does the bank do, but
the bank will it will do, it will reach the other counterpart where it has been transferred. They ask that person the bank to stop the payment, and in case if he has got account, they immediately stop it, and that is possible if you inform immediately. Otherwise, if you had already encashed it, that's not possible.
But
Even
so
that
this
is possible
immediately
because
word
he
is
will have
very
some.
shady.
but
No
however-
matter how
it is
how much
possible.
urgency you show,
It was
you
done.
still, how many of them have got their money
it was
back?
done in many cases, provided if it is done instantaneously and it is possible
Okay,
for the defense and bank.
not taking names, I have one person right in our office who we went rushing to the police station, got the complaint done, got out the right next morning, and they somehow target you on a Sunday or a Saturday, right? So during the weekend, you have no access to your bank, no access to the cops, let alone the
No,
bank.
not like that.
So there you have 2 days gone. And you lose grip on the case. But I'm just saying, went on Sunday evening, got the FIR with a little bit of influence that we have, got the FIR done, went to the bank the next morning, but it's just there. It's like, okay,
No,
thank you.
customer care, mind
Thank
you.
you. We will look into it.
Nabila,
So
mind you-
what was the help? In
Nabila,
124
mind you-
hours, nothing happened.
Nabila, mind you, each bank has got its customer care. Customer care is known to the customers.
Sir,
most
but
of the
I'm
customers.
saying that all
alert
this-
the customer
all these
care.
measures were
no, immediately
opted.
alert the customer care. If
We
bank is not,
did. What,
Sir,
of course.
Exactly.
Bank cannot
We
freeze
did.
the account. Bank cannot freeze the account unless there
We
is a
did.
court order
Bank
or a
will-
police investigation officer's request.
no, it will not freeze, but it will act upon.
How? We did. I'm saying we contacted the customer care. We got the card blocked. We got the account monitored.
Yes, here comes the liability. Here comes the responsibility. If bank failed to act immediately, if it is informed, they are liable to compensate you in course of time, because they
Sir,
failed
in future
they
transaction-
failed to protect the interest of the customer.
Sir-
It is a bounden duty of the bank. That is why they keep informing, that we are not responsible. Please don't reply to those.
So
fake
am I
calls
supposed to
for
pull
your
up
OTP number,
South India
PIN
Bank
number
now? I
or
mean, that's the
account?
bank that did not react even after giving details to them within
You
24
give a
hours.
request to block
No,
your
no,
card.
no.
If they
They are
don't do it
answerable.
and
They
further
are-
transfer
they are
happens, then they are
responsible.
liable.
Sorry,
They are
say that again.
responsible.
You give a request to block your card or your account, and after you request them, further transaction will happen, then they are completely liable.
Then it is completely liable.
If they don't block upon your request, then they are
Even-
completely
no, no,
liable.
no, but-
But for the past one,
No. Even for the transaction which has been completed, even for that also they are liable, because they should always keep us informed. This is a request has come. Can I pass? If it is not done, they are liable.
So by now, all
no.
banks should have
Yes,
had
sir.
the cases
Yeah.
on them.
no. In fact, they are liable because this particular mode of authenticating the transfer is not as per the RBI acceptance. This is as per the convenience. So for this reason only, the bank is liable, because bank has got an insurance for such kind of transfers. Bank is liable for the damage which they did, because they violated the RBI guidelines. Because RBI has not approved this OTP transactions at all. This is as per the convenience.
As far
No,
as
but
your
I'm-
case is concerned, you
yeah.
have a good case to go against the bank now.
Yeah.
Now that the bank has not really helped you, the bank that you mentioned, you definitely can approach them and approach the.
But what Phaneendra, and she says that if there was more money taken away from your account, then the bank is liable. But what the money that is already lost, about 30 or 1,000, that won't. Can I still pin the bank?
Yes,
and
it is still-
put
it is
them
still-
responsible for it?
Should I
It is a case.
No, I'm asking, can I still hold the bank responsible
Yes.
for it?
So yes, you may. So what happens is there's one principle when it comes to banking frauds: caveat emptor. As far as the money has been withdrawn and you had no information and you didn't inform the bank, it's caveat emptor. It's at your loss. The minute you tell the bank, you can imagine this as a volley to the tennis court. Now it's now at the bank's responsibility to stop further transactions. Now in your case, the minute you gave the information, it should not have been the case for this bank to completely ignore your call, because now you have an FIR in place and you didn't really require the FIR, because according to the RBI norms, the minute you give them information that you believe that your account has been compromised, they have a responsibility to immediately stop further transactions. Now the RBI guidelines have only one objective. Look, losses have taken place, let's prevent further losses. If further losses take place, clearly there is a bank's contributory negligence to that part. So I agree with my colleague over here. You have a very strong case as to why they've even acted in such a cavalier attitude.
No,
when you've
further
given them an
transactions
FIR.
did not happen, but the money that was lost never came back.
Now that's the second issue. The second issue is that you've lost money. Unfortunately, there are considerations that you have to keep in mind. Banks would be in a position to say, how can we be responsible for information that we didn't receive, or losses of your money prior to the information being received by us. So at that point of time, you would have to take, unfortunately, a complaint to the cyber crime cell, where the police with its investigation powers would have to kind of find out who these...
So that's precisely what I'm asking you. What
yes.
Mr. Nagaraju here is saying, that even that money that is lost
Completely
is the
lost.
responsibility of the bank.
No, that's not the
what he's saying.
responsibility of the bank.
It is true, because unless and until, if he doesn't caution us.
Because that gives us a lot of hope. That gives us a lot of hope.
No, cautioning is a mandatory. If they fail to caution me time and again, then they are failed to
I
do
would
that.
say that if they have failed to do their bare minimum duty of sending you an SMS, Canada Bank never asks you to give its OTP online, then they are responsible. But once they've done their bare minimum duties as a bank, and I'm really emphasizing on the word bare minimum, because this is just bare prevention. If an event of fraud has taken place, unfortunately, the person who is being defrauded in that situation has no other option but to go towards the cybercrime cell and say that there is a third party responsible for theft from my bank.
Okay. Again, I'll ask this question clear, because this is giving us a lot of hope. If you've lost your money, immediately give information to the bank with an FIR.
Correct.
Is the bank liable to recover that money for us, or is it only further transactions that they will ensure is not made and you're not frauded furthermore? But what is done, the scam is done, that's done. That you won't get your money back. Give me some clarity on that, because Nagaraj says it's possible, the bank is liable.
No, there are two versions of looking at it.
First information to the bank, then to the police. First information, immediately, instantaneously you must inform.
That's
them.
exactly what I did. Called the bank, spoke to the customer care, got the account.
Register what has happened.
Alerted them about the account. Unfortunately, they said it's a Sunday, whatnot, the bank is closed, so immediately tomorrow first thing get an FIR.
24/7.
So
All the
FIR
banks
was
have
given
got customer care,
the
and
person
it
was waiting outside the
24/7.
bank before the bank opened itself, so that they don't have excuses. Immediately at 9 a.m. the FIR copy was on their table, but that nothing really happened.
No, in fact, to answer your question in two different versions. One is that the fraud happens because of complete innocence of the particular victim.
Correct.
Or some partial involvement of the victim in the whole transaction. So this differs the legal process of the whole thing. So if in case the person has a negligence or a contributory negligence, then the liability is actually on both the people.
And negligence is, you mean sharing your bank details?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So not just bank details, it's also OTP.
Right.
What the bank terms is the OTP is the...
I'm going to cut you short, Phaneendra. We have the police commissioner online with us, Mr. Bhaskar Rao, to tell us a little more. Mr. Bhaskar Rao, thank you so much for speaking. This is Nabila here. I'd like you to highlight a little bit about the spurt in the number of cybercrime cases or online banking fraud cases that have been coming to the fore. We hear Karnataka Police Department as such is still not sensitive to the rising number of banking fraud cases that have been registered. They're still a little clueless. If you can explain it to us, what's the whip that you're using to crack down on this menace? Mr. Bhaskar Rao, can you hear us? We'll try and patch him back again. Yeah, Phaneendra, please continue. So that's one side of it. If you're compromising with all your details, then that's your fault. What's the other?
No, that's your fault is what the bank actually puts across to you. But however, if you look at the process of the legal rights, okay, you can still have a claim on the amount which is lost even after sharing OTP. There are cases, reported cases, even after you shared OTP, because OTP is not approved mode of transfer. For that reason, bank was liable to pay the customer back.
So what is the approved mode of transfer?
See, RBI's approved mode of transfer is through net banking, where you use your credentials, log in with a username and a password. See, your username and password is your credential, because OTP is not a credential. That is an authentication factor. When you log on, you see, if you
I know OTP is for authentication.
Correct.
On many apps and platforms, OTP
Correct.
is your authentication.
How do you make sure who is accessing that OTP? If you are using internet banking, you use your
But don't
username
your
and
OTPs
password.
usually come to you itself as a customer, as a
Yeah,
bank
that's what we believe
account
to be.
holder?
What if the phone is cloned? What if the phone is cloned? Okay, and there are
So
many.
SIM card cloning.
Yes, there are many applications on your own device which will access your phone contacts, phone SMS, everything, without knowing the applications
One,
accessing
for
your
example, is Truecaller, you're saying.
anything. You install any
Right,
application
right.
that asks for the details.